There's an oft-repeated and decidedly untrue claim that Eskimos have hundreds of words for snow. Beyond the fact there is no single Eskimo language, when talking about the wider Eskimo-Aleut language family, these actually have roughly the same number of root words for snow as English does, as we've previously discussed. The false claim that they have drastically more is sometimes used to demonstrate how limited the English language is when it comes to coming up with words for things, which is a little unfair considering how many synonyms currently exist for breasts. Of the numerous slang terms we have to describe lady lumps, none is as non-controversial or as ubiquitous as the word boobs. So, where did the word boobs come from? There's an old joke that posits that the word boob came about because it serves as a visual representation of what a pair of breasts looks like from three key viewing angles: above, B, the front, OO, and the side, small case b, respectively. Unsurprisingly, this is just a happy accident rather than a serious origin story. As we've previously mentioned in our article on why certain traps are called booby traps, according to the Oxford English Dictionary, the earliest written example of the word boob being used to specifically describe breasts comes from the 1934 novel Tropic of Cancer. It reads, "She was lying on the divan with her boobies in her hands." The author of that masterpiece, Henry Miller, is also often credited for the first recorded use of the slight modification boobs. This occurred in another product of his literary genius published in 1949 called Sexus, in which he states, "I felt her sloshy boobs joggling me, but I was too intent on pursuing the ramifications of Coleridge's amazing mind to let her vegetable appendages disturb me." However, upon a much more comprehensive review than just consulting the normally impeccably accurate Oxford English Dictionary, we found an earlier example of the word boob used in this way in the lesser-known 1932 novel Young Lonergan by James T. Farrell. In that work, you'll find the line, "Studs don't usually pay attention to how girls looked, except to notice the shape of their legs, because if they had good legs, they were supposed to be good for you-know, and if they didn't, they weren't, and to notice their boobs if they were big enough to bounce." Needless to say, whether Miller, who was well known for his works of erotic breast-centric fiction, wrote his boobies line before 1932 or not, it's generally thought he did not coin this term for breasts, nor likely did Farrell. Now, you're probably aware that the word boob can also be used to describe a stupid, foolish, or otherwise clumsy person. This particular definition is generally thought to have derived from the Spanish word bobo, which roughly means dunce. The Spanish word, in turn, comes from the Latin bulbus, meaning stammering. There is also a less accepted theory that boob, meaning stupid, has Gaelic origins. Whatever the case, the word booby in English first popped up in the sense of fool or dummy around the late 16th century, and within decades was applied to birds of the Sula genus. These birds have very large feet that make them look clumsy and foolish when they walk or run instead of fly. In addition, they would often land on ships and are supposedly exceptionally easy to catch, making them popular fare for sailors who began calling the birds boobies for their perceived stupidity. Since then, this term has been applied to all manner of things, such as the boob tube, idiot box, booby trap, trap for dummies, and booby prize. Prize for the biggest loser. You might be tempted to think from this that the definition of stupid gave rise to boob being used to describe breasts, perhaps because of the way that they can sometimes make men do stupid things, or because of something akin to the false stereotype of a dumb blonde. In fact, this line of thinking is generally cited by those few who are offended by the use of the term boob as being the reason the term is offensive to them, that boobs derives from a word that means stupid, and hence it's kind of like calling women stupid. However, etymologists don't generally think this is the case. The evidence seems to indicate that boobs, meaning breasts, has an entirely separate and decidedly more innocent etymology, likely via the word bubby, meaning breast. As to where bubby came from, the two leading hypotheses here are either via the German bubi, meaning teat, not well supported via documented evidence, or simply via baby talk. As we've discussed at length before, for more on that, do see our video, Why Do We Call Our Parents Mum and Dad? The first words children inevitably vocalize will often use consonants like P, B, D, and M in a repetitive fashion, creating formally nonsensical words like papa, dada, mama, and, most relevant to the topic at hand, bubba. Thus, if bubby didn't just derive from the German for teat, it's generally thought it came from these vocalizations. It has also been widely speculated that perhaps bubby was only partially from baby vocalizations, and in fact was just a child-speak variation of the Latin for little girl, the feminine gender of pupus, little boy, which itself may be a word that has its origins in baby talk. However, being extremely careful with our search terms, and even so fully expecting the FBI to come a-knocking any time, we thankfully couldn't find any connection between pooper, aka little girl, and boob, other than a whole lot of sources claiming this connection without providing even the smallest amount of evidence to support the claim. So, until such evidence presents itself, we're going to remain skeptical on this one. Interestingly, in the mid-19th century, bubby was a slang term for little boy, but unfortunately for making a connection between pupus and bubby meaning breast, bubby meaning boy first occurred almost 2 centuries after bubby was being used to describe memories. In any event, the first reference to bubby or the plural bubbies being used to describe breasts appeared in a 1686 poem in New Poems by Thomas de Urfey. The ladies here may without scandal shew face or white bubbies to each ogling beau. The next known instance appeared in one of John Arbuthnot's John Bull pamphlets written in 1712, where it states, "One of the things that first alarmed me was that they showed a spite against my poor old mother. Lord, quote I, what makes you so jealous of a poor old innocent gentlewoman that minds only her prayers and her practice of piety? She never meddles in any of your concerns. Foh, say they, to see a handsome, brisk, genteel young fellow so much governed by a doting old woman. Why don't you go and suck the bubby?" 13 years later, in Richard Bradley's Family Dictionary, Volume 2, it gives a method for helping women express milk. But if, on the contrary, a woman who has no occasion for milk, there are more ways than one to make her lose it. First, let her put cheveril upon her bubbies and under her armpits. While the OED states that this term soon became obsolete, in fact there are numerous instances of it being used since then, even up to the present day, with it thought that this ultimately gave rise to the word boobies and its many variants around the 1920s. Moving swiftly on, in regards to why boob seems to be the most popular synonym for breasts, it has been speculated that it may have something to do with the fact that, for whatever reason, most people don't seem to find the word offensive, unlike many other synonyms for breasts that tend to draw a little more like titties, chesticles, God's milk jugs, or fun bags. In fact, in 2013, Bonds, an Australian women's clothing chain, did a survey and found that 74% of Australian women typically use the word boobs to refer to their own breasts. As such, the company went ahead and decided to use the word in their Bonds for Boobs ad campaign, which both advertised their bra product line as well as a partnership they'd made with the National Breast Cancer Foundation. Nevertheless, as we can very much attest to, someone is one to get upset about pretty much everything if you've got a big enough audience. Unsurprisingly, a few people did complain to the Advertising Standards Board, ASB, over Bond's use of the word boobs. In response, the ASB reviewed the ad campaign wording and graphics and concluded that there was nothing in the advertisement that was inappropriate for a broad audience, and Bonds was allowed to continue to run the ad. No doubt Bonds was grateful for the complainers drawing media attention to their ad campaign. Of course, the bigger question in all of this is how we're going to convincingly explain away our search history for the last couple of days when we were researching this script. We swear we were researching boobs for science. And now for some bonus facts. Like boob meaning breast and boob meaning stupid, tit meaning breast and tit as the name for a small bird has decidedly different origins. The bird word is thought to derive from the Norse word tita, meaning small bird or animal. In contrast, tit meaning breast is just a variation of teat, directly deriving from the Old English tit, meaning breast or nipple, ultimately from the Proto-Germanic tita. The variant titty was first attested in the late 18th century as a nursery derivative of teat. Interestingly, for a time in the 16th century, tit as in small animal or object was also a term for a girl or young woman. Other places this small x definition has been applied includes titmouse and tomtit. As for breast, this seems to derive ultimately from the Proto-Indo-European root breus, meaning to swell or sprout. And finally, nipple derives from the Old English neb, meaning beak, face, or nose, or more literally, a small projection. So I really hope you found that video interesting. If you did, please do hit that thumbs up button below and don't forget to subscribe. We got brand new videos every day of the week. For more from me, why not check out another channel I do called Biographics? I'm going to link to that below. And as always, Thank you for watching.